All right, Evan Giddings in for Darryl the Guru Johnson. We're also joined by Mark Willard and Dan Dibley. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Gentlemen, what's going on?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hell of a day, boys.
Steiny, yeah.
Aren't they all, Evan? Aren't they all?
Yeah, some more than others.
Well, Jim Valvano famously said in his Don't Give Up, Don't Ever Give Up speech that if you want to have a day, you need to think, laugh, and cry. And so on my way in today, listening to you two, I've had a day based on Jim Valvano. And yes, I thought a lot about what you said, you guys, about Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams. And I cried a little bit thinking about Alvin Attles and, you know, what he means to me with my father already being gone and growing up as a young man. And, you know, he was the gold standard. It was Clifford Ray and it was Al Attles. That was your Warriors. And yes, Rick Barry as well. But when they won the title in 75, I was 7. I don't really remember, but I remember it in the way my dad and my older brother would tell the stories about that team. And I also laughed during the show, and it had to do with you guys talking about pets. And I want to start there because your guinea pig take, Steiny, was probably the best you've ever been on radio.
Oh.
Your breakdown of pets, and it had to do with adopt a pet or whatever you were seeing to your left or something. The idea of a guinea pig, the way you broke it down, your scouting report on the guinea pig as a pet, I thought was elite, amazing, fantastic. So I want to thank you and praise you for your honesty about your time with the guinea pig.
I had a real bad experience with a guinea pig.
You sure
and
did.
a lizard or gecko. I can't remember which one it is.
Either way.
And I just told people, Mark, listen, if you're getting a pet, don't get cute. Get a dog.
That was the payoff.
Get a dog.
Don't get cute.
Who's going to disagree with that?
Well, it depends on how you mean don't get cute.
Don't get a Gila monster.
Right. I understood how you meant it.
Yeah,
but if you tell a kid we're going to get a pet, don't get cute.
Right.
They're going to be like, but I want cute. That's the point. I want my dog to be cute. I want to make sure you're not telling people to get an ugly dog.
Cute?
Not that there's anything wrong with ugly dogs.
Ugly dogs can be cute.
Yes,
True.
means-
It's so ugly that it starts to cycle back around.
He's got
Cute
one eye with
means
his
on
tongue out.
4th and 1, you're not going to run a flea flicker.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Quarterback sneak.
I mean,
Off tackle.
But a Philly special might do.
What if it works, though?
Well timed.
Well,
Then it's
lizard,
brilliant.
sure, but you're still living
gerbil.
with
Oh, God.
Well, sure.
Shout out Richard
Guinea
Gere.
pig.
Like,
Spiders
God.
are out.
Richard
no
Gere
snake.
he did ruin the gerbil.
Big fan of the gerbil.
Wow, and Evan probably doesn't
Really
even
big
know
fan.
what
You
we're
can
talking
Google it,
about,
Evan,
but
and
anyway.
I wouldn't Google that on a work computer.
Yeah, do that on.
That's
on
going to
your
be
phone.
on the
Do
I'd
that
go to
on
the
your phone.
library for that one.
Throw pony in there, too.
You've had a pony?
Yeah.
No.
Andrew Filipponi?
Oh, he's having a good
We'll
week.
see.
He's close
Yeah.
to having a hell of a year.
We'll see.
He's getting closer every day.
He's still got a shot.
He does.
I'm actually
that's,
getting close to rooting for him.
At this point.
That's what I've read. That's what's happened to me in the last 7 days. I'm now rooting for the pony.
So he's our Pittsburgh radio brother
Yeah.
who has said for the past 4 weeks that Brandon Aiyuk will be, underlined in all caps and bold, a Steeler. And he has not backed off it. And here we are on, August 21st. And we've had this conversation now 39 different days. And he still could be a Steeler.
Yeah. And I don't want to have it for another day, by the way. But like, there's not going to be very.
Oh, we're doing 4 hours today.
No, here's what I've decided is it's in our power. Are you a believer in manifestation?
You know what that would be?
It would
we
be a
live in the land of
manifestation.
manifest destiny.
Yeah,
so.
manifestation sensation.
Thank
I know,
you.
but
Don't step on the bit.
it's okay. It's okay. It's kind of tired anyway.
I love
but
Evan.
anyway,
Count the bucket. Never tired.
Yeah, point is,
Never tired.
I figure if we line our show up with a bunch of non-Aiyuk stuff, that will guarantee that the Aiyuk news will break.
Interesting. Yeah.
And part of this is me still, these are my scars from having Fred Warner on the show and Gabe Kapler getting fired 2 minutes into the interview.
That was awkward.
And us having to duck out of the best linebacker in football because a manager who most people didn't like had been relieved of his duties. So anyway, because of that, I now believe that the likes of Juan Toscano-Anderson,
Yep, coming on.
who's going to be on here in 37 minutes,
Sweet.
and the likes of Tim Roy,
Okay.
Unbelievable.
and some pretty fancy Brock Purdy takes that I think we've amassed, and also potentially later on this afternoon, some baseball-related things. Add all that up, and Brandon Aiyuk will break in 8 minutes.
Yep.
That I am never been more sure in my life.
And blow up our show sky high because Director of Sports Lucas Alexander has actually, and maybe the breaking news sounders in order, booked a show. He's booked a good show. But because he's booked a really good show, it's a really good shoe. Shout out Ed Sullivan and anybody over 80 in our audience. But
thank you.
You're welcome. Because of that, Mark is right. The Aiyuk or even the Trent is going to breaking news.
Yeah, BA gets traded at 213 then at that point.
We're hoping more for like 503, I think.
I don't know.
Some guys are being as precise as Filipponi.
Yeah, well, and if Pony's right, then the deal will be consummated. It'll be a consummation sensation. And how dare you say that bit is tired?
I know.
That bit goes on and on.
I was trying to make Evan feel good.
Yeah.
That's all. I was trying to make Evan feel good.
I appreciate that.
No doubt.
Couple things. Don't forget, hey, ask Juan Toscano Anderson
Yep.
about Al Attles' wife. I believe she taught him.
That's
What the
kind of
hell
the
do you
whole.
think's the point?
That's kind of the whole angle. I mean,
Why do you think we called him? Yeah,
we called him to talk about when I actually did play-by-play for his high school game when he was just Juan Anderson.
Right.
And we will get into that.
We'll start there.
And I want to see if he still has the tape because I was on point that day as Castro Valley took on San Leandro.
I'm sure he's got it in his garage.
He had better.
For sure.
He balled out that day.
When
But
those
anyway,
two
yes.
get together.
It's a sold-out house at Chabot College.
Al's wife was
Totally.
Juan's teacher. Yes.
What do you think about the subject? It was kind of Aiyuk and Trent Williams related that I concocted for a segment. What do you think? Is it time to hear from Jed York?
No. Yeah, I mean,
How do you think of that concoction?
Someone help me.
How honest do you want me to get with my answer?
just keep it real. You guys have not fought in about 8 weeks, and the audience demands it.
I brought gloves.
I think she's in a class right now, so she won't hear, and so it's okay. I literally your conversation spurned a phone call from my lovely Christy.
Oh,
because she, who used to work in PR, thought the idea of the owner of the 49ers addressing the media about a private situation that has absolutely no good answer, nor would sharing anything put him in a better position or light in any way, shape, or form, offended her.
You know what I got to say to that?
She said, Steiny is smarter than this. The owner is not only not going to speak, the owner shouldn't speak, and then the owner shouldn't speak again.
Shut out, no doubt.
The owner should not speak.
Don't speak
now.
Hey, Christy.
Oh, boy.
You better be careful.
And hold on, before you go after my girl, I concur with her. Why, Steiny?
Well, that's the mark of a good relationship.
Other than we want info, if you remove that,
When is it time? It's
never,
an open-ended question.
Never,
if I can just answer it in a less than emotional way, because Mark is tied up in a relationship and I adore her and I adore them. Shout out Instagram. But it's a different situation than what you have with Joe Lacob. Joe Lacob is the GM. And Mike Dunleavy has the office and the nameplate, and they trot him out when they need to for press conferences. I'm not trying to disrespect Mike Dunleavy, but Joe Lacob calls the shots. And with the Giants, well, heck, we don't know what's going on there.
There are no shots.
With the 49ers, when it comes to contracts and money, it's Parag Marate. And yes, he marches to the beat of Jed York's drum, but Jed is going to hide behind Parag, who hides behind John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. So you're not ever going to hear Jed York come out and say exactly what's going on or what needs to be done. If Parag and John decide that this is going to get done, they go to Jed and they say, Jed, it's going to take $40 million guaranteed. I'm going to need you to go into the vault and 27 right, 13 left, 11 right. We're going to need $20 million in cash right now for Brandon Aiyuk. And Jed says, I've got that, guys. I'll be right back. So other than that, Jed's got nothing to say.
Let me add something real quick. This is an active situation.
And that was a guess on the combination, by the way.
Okay, yeah. Like Joe Lacob he did speak on the Klay Thompson thing to Tim Kawakami after it was over. We called for the Giants to speak on the Carlos Correa thing. They did after it was over. If you want Jed York's commentary on what was going on here after it's over, feel free to put in a request, and he may sit down and talk to you. Jed's been known to do that. But two things. A, this is active, so there's no chance, no way, no how, nor should they. And secondarily, I don't want Jerry Jones to own this team. I don't want somebody who comes down to the football field to start talking about football every day when you're the owner of the team. That is meddlesome. It is unproductive. It's a no from me, dog.
Let me tell you the way I'm looking at it.
Sure.
Is I'm thinking about Jed York talking. I think the math works. I think the math works.
That's a 4. That's great.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure someone wants to ask him a question, but I don't think it's productive of him to answer it.
Right.
Certainly not honestly.
Oh, now we got 2 other guys in the room and you change your tune.
What are you talking about? I came at you during that segment.
You came at me.
I'm with Christy.
You know better.
Yeah.
When has Jed York talking been a net positive?
What he said, Brock Purdy going to reset the market.
Okay.
Fascinating.
Is that a net positive?
I'm going to need Christie's, I think they're called curriculum vitae, please. I'm going to need a resume.
Close enough, yeah.
The only thing that...
I'm going to need a resume.
You need your Venmo? What was it? What do you need?
I think it's called curriculum vitae.
Get in here, Evan.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, E.
Get in here.
The only part that had me wondering, because your original question was, would you want to hear from him? Like, aside of whether he would talk or not, because that's not, in my mind, the question. But would you want to hear from him? The only thing that I would want to hear him address was the nugget at the end of Schultz's report yesterday, which is the first time I believe we've heard any mention of ownership being involved in the contract negotiation, that there are details being ironed out that demand ownership approval. So that is something that he, who is referenced, could actually comment on. Would he? No.
Shouldn't, yeah.
But would I want to hear about that detail? That's something that I haven't heard before, and that sounds really hard to believe, considering we heard a report 2 times a day for the last 6 months.
Okay. Well, I mean, the 2 ways to answer that. Do we want to hear from him? Sure. That doesn't mean he should. And secondly, I mean, I don't know. That to me, that's just another quirky tweet. Like anything where we're talking high level here, anything that's financial calls for ownership approval. Like Jed York is not like that money, whatever the guarantee is, it goes straight to an escrow account. That's Jed. That's Jed. He has to approve all that. And Jed has done a phenomenal job with that in recent years with the 49ers.
But that's why I would wonder why he might not be willing to do it now, because he has given out a ton of guaranteed money. That's the reason why they have $30 million in cap space right now.
Yeah, because you can't just say yes as a rule, I would think.
Well, but he's done that up until now.
No,
pretty much.
No, I mean, no, they haven't paid everyone. They didn't pay DeForest Buckner. He certainly had to grit his teeth in order to give Nick Bosa what he demanded last year.
Didn't pay Eric Armstead.
Yeah, I don't think it's not an automatic. I think that has been their philosophy, but there's a cap to everything.
Well, that's my point. It feels like it's changed now. It feels like it's changed this offseason.
I think every situation's different. I think it's, you know what I mean? It's timing, it's the player, it's the ask, and those are the things we don't know, and we're not probably ever going to know it. I always liken these situations back to Wiggins. We want to know. You don't get to know.
You know what? Call me crazy. I don't really want to know.
A lot of people do, though. We've done that conversation. I'm with you. Like, I don't care. But a lot of people do.
But you want to hear from York.
Yeah.
But not Wiggins.
Yeah. I'll just put it. Maybe I'll put it another way then. What are you guys going to talk about?
Not Brandon Aiyuk until he signs.
We're going to talk.
You want to bet?
213.
We're going to talk about Al Attles, and we're going to get some reflections and look at the history, and we're going to speak to the emotion of it because, you know, I heard about it from you guys, and thank you, Steiny, because your perspective was fantastic, and the story you told about the Latrell Sprewell choking incident and how you asked Al a couple days later hey, Al, were you at practice and he just smiled and you didn't follow up knowing that he would just smile again? And you guys had a nonverbal exchange that I wish I was there for, because I got a chance to talk to Al a few times in person and a few times on the radio. And it always made me feel like a 6-year-old again, because my dad was, I was raised a Warrior fan, and we would sneak over and go to games, and whatever sneak was the operative word. We'd go in the parking lot at the old Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Arena, and, we'd scalp up a couple of late tickets, and, my brothers may or may not have me sneak in the bottle under my gigantic down jacket because I was 12 years old, who looked like I was 7. And, you mentioned how you were 5 feet as a freshman. I was 4'9", so shout out late bloomers everywhere. So for me, the Al Attles era as a coach and, back in the late 70s, early 80s, that reminds me of being a kid. So this news hit me the way it always hit me when I talked to Al, like, man, it reminds me of being like 8, 9, 10 years old again. And so the emotions for me today are more so than even they were with Willie Mays, because, Willie, I didn't really see Willie play. I didn't see, Al play. I only saw him as a coach in the 75 team and beyond.
I got a Purdy question for you guys if you want to play that game.
Sure.
I got a Purdy question for you.
I'm worried, Mark.
Well, I bet. Well, okay, then I'm going to change the question.
So is Brady.
Why are you worried? Except for I know you're not worried. Mavs in 6. Anyway, so...
I thought it was 5.
Whatever.
It was 6, and that was mean-spirited for him to bring that back 2 years later.
Well, that's
your guy,
no,
Mark Willard.
That's code for when Steiny is not being genuine. Anyway, here's my Purdy question, because I feel like under the covers, there's all kinds of doubt that's still out there. Despite 4 playoff wins, despite 2 years that have both ended up in the Final Four, all of that stuff. I smell things like, if you don't sign Brandon Aiyuk, Brock's not going to be able to perform at the same level. You see the preseason performance the other day, and I hear people lined up going, get ready, that's what it's going to look like 2 years from now. Even when I hear people say, Super Bowl or bust, the window is closing. When you have a 24-year-old, very productive quarterback, that should be the beginning of the window, not the end. So when I hear all that stuff, I hear doubt. Here's what I'll say. Brock Purdy's clearly good. Is he ever going to be a Mahomes or an Allen? Maybe not. Is good enough? $60 million era for your good quarterback. Is good enough?
Yes, I think it is.
Okay.
Like what I want to see from Brock Purdy, because like and we played this sound of Brady and Manning, and they were as the top 5 quarterbacks, and they didn't put Purdy in there. And there's some conventional wisdom about why people don't give Purdy the credit that he might deserve. Well, he was a 7th round pick. He's got a ton of weapons. I actually think it might be more practical than that. And he's still only quarterbacked 21 regular season games. Like, that's it. And so I don't know when you go from proving yourself to, you don't have to prove yourself anymore. But no, I do think this is a big year for Purdy. And I think if he shows that he's the quarterback that he was for the last year and a half, then he's going to be fine. And the Niners are going to be really good. They're probably going to pay him a ton of money. What if it's more murky than that? And the eye test tells you he wasn't quite as good, and maybe they only go 10-7 and win the wild card game and lose. Like, that's what I think is worth discussing.
I just don't think that there's anything that could be murky. And I heard you earlier talking about, like, not only the sample size, but, he has something to prove. There's only one quarterback, in my opinion, in the league that has nothing to prove. If Patrick Mahomes goes 0-17 somehow, well, he's still a guy who has had an unbelievable run and back-to-back Super Bowls, and he comes back intact. Every other quarterback in the league has something to prove. Even 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who is already going to the Hall of Fame, and Matthew Stafford, one of only 5 quarterbacks currently playing to have won a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, he's got something to prove. Is it over? Joe Flacco's won a Super Bowl. He's got something to prove. They all have something to prove.
Okay, but tuck that
I meant in terms of the contract.
Right, the contractual conversation. Like, Evan, what would you say? $60 million on the table, because this is the conversation that tends to come up more often than not. No one thinks Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson has something to prove in terms of when it's contract time, do you want to keep him? But like, go to the Dak Prescotts of the world, the Kyler Murrays, what the Raiders eventually decided about Derek Carr, where a quarterback is clearly good, but when it's contract time, Daniel Jones,
$40 million
is good.
Yeah.
Is good enough?
It's a good question.
Well, he's already better than those guys whose good was good enough. Daniel Jones's good was good enough to get $40 million.
Well, but
his good's already been better than that.
But agreed. Most people would argue that the Daniel Jones thing was a mistake.
Yes,
as was the Kyler Murray. Yep.
Well, Kyler Murray, I think the jury's still out just because I really like him. But Daniel Jones, I think most people would identify as a mistake, even as it was happening. The Purdy thing is interesting, though. Yes, like he's proved that he is good enough because it's, I think, kind of why Aiyuk is in the situation he is, because he feels like he's good enough. He's good enough to get whatever the type of money that he wants. Brock Purdy, I think, is going to figure out next offseason that Dak Prescott is also probably good enough to get $50 or $60 million. And so that's going to be what he's going to get paid.
Deshaun Watson was good enough to get the biggest guaranteed contract in history.
Well, although that could have been a mistake, though.
No, it was a mistake.
Right. So there's the Daniel
and the
Jones,
Brock Purdy
Deshaun
one
Watson.
might be a mistake. Like, I just don't think that they think that it will be.
Jackson and the guys who wanted that kind of money didn't get it, though. I mean, Jalen Hurts, I think, was the other one. They both wanted fully guaranteed contracts and didn't get it.
But they got the big bag to be the starting quarterback. Like, I look at the Purdy thing, and I think that no matter where you are on Purdy, a sane person believes he's proven that he's a franchise quarterback in the NFL. But is he great? Like, could he ascend to that list that we use of Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, and Hurts, and you know, feels like Jordan Love, maybe like people think that's going that way? Or does he go to Dak, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousinsville, where I think there's a conversation? Vikings let him walk. And he's a good player.
Sure. Nice little player.
He's a very good player. He's a productive quarterback. And the Vikings went, nah.
And we could talk about what good means, because all those guys you named, they have 0 Super Bowls other than Mahomes.
Yeah, but that's also contextual.
No, but I think that's, to me, what it comes down to when you talk about good, because Brock Purdy can be an elite game manager and they can win the Super Bowl this year, and he becomes worth $60 million because he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Washington also let Kirk Cousins walk, and they've been in Struggleville up until they got the number 2 overall.
Right.
pick.
I'm not saying it was the right decision, but I mean the Purdy thing. Aren't you projecting? Aren't you projecting whether or not he can be a great franchise quarterback when this era of stardom all over the roster expires?
That's a good question.
I think that's a great question.
And I look forward to answering it.
And I think Dan's going to answer it.
Where am I going to answer it?
On 95.7, The Game. Stay tuned.